Okay, so good morning everyone and welcome to the industry session with focus on solutions available in the market. My name is Alexis Gizikis, I'm project manager at EENA and I will be chairing this session. We have three presentations and after each one we will have some time for questions if time permits. So let me introduce the speakers and then we can start right away. We have Moti El-Kaim from Carbine, the head of marketing, who will share how interactive communications like video, real-time caller location, and cloud management can transform your operations overnight. Joining him in his presentation is Tyrell Morris, Executive Director of the Orleans Parish Communication District, to share how it helped them manage large crisis communication during and post-COVID-19. We then have a recorded presentation from Lewis Curtis, Director of Microsoft Disaster Response, and Kirk Arthur, Director of Worldwide Public Safety and Justice at Microsoft. Lewis and Kirk will discuss the lessons learned from responding to community disasters with engineering talent and the cloud. And the third presentation is from Caroline Morisot-Pagnon, who is a navigation project technical leader at Telespazio, and myself, and we will speak about our experience in the WorkingAge project and how smart working environments can provide PSAPs with enriched data about emergencies. Right, I think we can get started. So Moti and Tyrell, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Alexis. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Before I start the presentation, I see a few more people are joining us. By show of hands, how many of you have heard about Carbine before? Only one. Great. I have great news for you. After this presentation, you're not going to forget about Carbine. So you've never heard about us before, but we have an amazing presentation set up for you today. Let me start with a brief intro of our company and what it is that we do. Carbine was founded 6 years ago, and within a very short period of time, we became the largest provider of emergency location services in the world. Our services are now available to over 400 million people globally through the countries and agencies we're working with. We manage over 15 million unique emergency phone calls a year. As you can see in the screen here, we also provide 120 million location updates per year, which makes us the largest emergency location services provider globally. In addition to that, we own the patent for video to 911, the ability to communicate with callers to 911 or 112 centers via video without the requirement of an app. We have 9 patents that secure in our technology, and we have 44 partners that are working with us globally. But throughout our operations, our goal and our mindset and the way we go about business in 112 is to always stick to relentless innovation. Now, what does relentless innovation mean? It's a mindset that allows you to realize that you have to perform daily in order to meet your citizens' expectations, in order to meet your community's expectations in the most simple and powerful way moving forward. And what we have said is that when someone calls 911 without any effort on their side, without pre-registration to a specific service, without downloading an app, they should have the most advanced 911 solutions available in the palm of their hands, in their mobile devices. So we've created one of our platforms, which is the Universe platform, that allows you as a caller, when you call 112 or 911, when you call the 911 center, they send a link to your mobile device. When you click on that link via text message, at that moment in time, you enable the 112 center, the emergency call center, to receive your accurate mobile location with 4-meter accuracy, and also you enable them to get live video access, instant messaging, and much more. This is our UI of Universe, and it shows you all the capabilities that goes into it. The green dot that you see in the center is the location dot, and that is a dynamic caller location. Means that if I'm moving, if I'm running in the street, if I'm driving in a car, that green dot is going to move with me. You can see that on the top right hand, we have an intelligence pane that if you are working for a company or a certain organization, they can, through Carbine, use us as a gateway in order to send all of your private information in advance. Again, you don't need to download anything your medical history, your private information, your image. So when first responders are coming on site, they know who they're dealing with. If you have any disease, any medical conditions that will require specific treatment. And lastly, and most importantly, the video. We have the ability to share live video to 112 without the requirement of an app. And it dramatically increased the situational awareness of first responders before they are arriving on site. We have a lot of instances, and Director Morris is going to share his experience with you in a second, where paramedics, before arriving on site, were able to see the injured person and provide preliminary medical support so they can save more lives even before arriving to the incident. Firefighters who were able to see the condition of the house on fire and realize how many units they need to send and how many units they can save for other calls that are coming in. We are developing our technology realizing that the industry sometimes has a wrong perceived notion that every second counts. And I know you probably heard this before, right? Every second counts. Well, I think that statement is wrong. I don't think every second counts, because it doesn't matter if you dispatch response within 3 seconds if you don't know what you're responding to. The purpose is not to dispatch only the fastest response, but the fastest and most accurate response possible. And when we develop our solution, we realize that it's not only that every second counts, but every person counts. And let me show you in a quick video what do I mean by every person counts. Can you bring up the volume?
We received an emergency dispatch call here from a frantic mother.
They're gone. And so I start calling her. She finally answers the phone. She says she doesn't know where she is.
Her daughter was missing, and she had snuck out of the house.
She had put pillows underneath her blankets looking like she was laying in there. And I went in there to wake her up. I just had a funny feeling.
Riley, do you know where you are?
No.
Who are you with?
I don't know.
Are you on foot?
No. I just want to go home.
Okay. Who's driving?
I don't know.
Our officers were notified of the missing child and immediately put carbine into use.
Does your phone accept text messages?
Yes.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to send a link to your text messages, okay? And I need you to click on that link, because that will show me where you are.
When we have the carbine, we can use it to silently text them.
We're coming into a generation now where everything is looking at a phone.
The real-time location is a paramount piece of the carbine.
I don't think that she was really aware that it was tracking her location every 5 seconds.
Do you know where you're going?
Yeah, I don't know where I'm at, but I know I'm coming home.
Okay. Are they taking you home?
Yeah.
And she kept telling me that, I think we're almost home, I think we're going home, and the location on carbine, they were not anywhere close to home. So it was nerve-wracking.
And so with us having that extra piece in place with the carbine, we were able to close that gap.
It provided everything that she couldn't.
Okay. I have your location right now, okay? Riley, I'm telling my officers where you are, okay? We're trying to get someone over there to find you, okay?
Okay.
It was very overwhelming when my deputies were able to pull over the vehicle.
Oh my God, they got her, thank God. Oh my God, thank God.
Yes, ma'am, that's Sergeant Klein. He's out with her now. They'll be coming over. They'll be bringing her back home, okay?
Thank you. Oh my God, thank you.
What went through my head when our sergeant went out with the girls was just a big yes.
The suspect in this case fled the scene. They could have been a victim of human trafficking. A number of things could have happened that night, but they didn't.
Technology in of itself that's available to first responder now it's phenomenal in a timely manner.
I think my favorite part is that it's ease of use. It doesn't take anything special. Nobody has to download a special app to use it.
Oh my God.
It's going to be okay. Just take a deep breath.
I love you guys. Thank you.
So when we say that every person counts, we ask ourselves, Is your 112 center ready? With the right technology that can even rescue a 13-year-old girl on her first call to 112 or to 911? Is it that simple and that powerful that you can easily communicate with her and she can give you, with a click of a button, the right information that you need to rescue her? This is why we say that every person counts. This is the right technology. It's not about adding more features and more capabilities and more technology to the 112 call center and you're standing in front of screens and more screens just to get the right information to dispatch. Why not have a single unified platform that gives you all the information that you need from video, chat, location, translation, auto transcript? If I'm speaking in English and the person in front of me is speaking in Spanish and I don't know what they mean, why not have a platform that in a single UI, one screen fits all, give me that translation so I can dispatch with confidence, with ease, the right response that we need. We are doing it because we know that when we serve when we serve a single center, millions will benefit. And it's not about adding technology. It's not about adding another screen to your call station. It's about adding the right tools that maximizes your chances of saving more lives. Now I can stand here and talk about Carbine all day long, but we have one of the leading directors, one of the prominent directors in the US, who is managing one of the largest and most dense public safety environment in the country, Executive Director Tyrell Morris from New Orleans. And he's going to share with you how Carbine has helped him transform his operation. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tyrell Morris.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Modi. As you said, my name is Tyrell Morris. I'm the director of New Orleans 911 and 311. Have anyone here ever been to the city of New Orleans? No? Okay, so you know we're known for food culture and also throwing one of the biggest parties in the world, free parties in the world, known as Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is 14 days long, where 1.4 million people descend on the city of New Orleans, and their lives are in the hands of my people that work at OPCD. I had the pleasure of leading a group of 180 heroes, or gladiators that I call them. We take 1.2 million calls for service a year. We have 450,000 residents in New Orleans, but 18 million people come to our city every year. People are not coming to New Orleans to go to Bible study, right? They're going to have a good time on Bourbon Street, and usually they may interact with a public safety agency. And in most instances, those reactions are minute. A simple interaction with a police officer, interaction with an EMS unit. But when seconds count, the Carbine solution has really helped us meet our mission with great ease. And our mission at OPCD is very simple: to get the right people to the right place at the right time, better than anyone else in the world. As one of the largest centers in the world, we consider ourselves an agency driven by innovation as well. This is why OPCD and Carbine made phenomenal partners. Our journey with Carbine started at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, where COVID gripped my city at its core. At one point, 60% of all of my EMS people were out of work because of COVID. Either they were exposed or they had it. So in a large city like me, running over almost 300 EMS calls a day, and my workforce is down more than half, I have a problem, right? So I had to do something quick to save those resources. And so we reached out to our friends at Carbine. The next day, they were on a plane in New Orleans, and we deployed their solution. We set a paramedic inside the center. And as people called 911 to report their symptoms, we were able to do a video chat, and the paramedic can do a video triage to really assess their situation. And in most cases, we told people the best thing for you to do is to stay home, not go to the hospital, overwhelm the hospital, or use up one of our ambulances. So when we really needed an ambulance for a CPR or a stroke or something that was really life-threatening, we had them available. Just like other major cities, in the past 2 years, we have seen a spike in violent crime. I'm not sure that's the same over here in Europe, but in the US, that is our reality, unfortunately. Additional police is not gonna solve this problem for us, right? We're not gonna arrest ourselves out of a violent crime increase. And so what we do believe is using big data to help put the pieces together. Emergency communication centers in the United States today are not operating as transporters of information. They are operating as intelligence organizations. My people are checking criminal histories, checking the terrorist watch list, tapping into cameras, running license plates, all within seconds to help the officers on the scene put the pieces together. The platform that Modi just showed you, we enjoy. Most people that come to New Orleans don't know where they are, and so the technology at this point has become more reliable than the caller themselves. So we're able to execute our mission with even more pause. Again, here's a photo of New Orleans. Again, this is only one day. of us. Can you imagine getting a 911 call and trying to find someone in this crowd who needs an ambulance? This used to be very difficult for us. It took us a lot of time to pinpoint location. Since we deployed Carbine, almost every single instance, we're telling the person where you are. Ma'am, I see you outside the Marriott at 555 Canal Street. Is that where you are? Yes, that's where I am. With additional enhancements, we are beginning to start use the solution to estimate elevation, estimate what room you're in, and additional platforms and enhancements are coming. We did have a conversation, an opportunity to ask some questions, but I do know that if you're considering this transition to next generation 911, one, you all should be considering it, right? I don't think we have an option or a choice anymore. The industry as a whole is moving in this direction. The public, the people who you serve, already think we have all this cool stuff, so we're still playing catch up. But ultimately, as public safety incidents become much more complex, when I think about incidents of mass casualty, in New Orleans, unfortunately, we have had that experience where cars drive down the parade route, or some other incidents, maybe a mass shooting happening in the U.S. This technology helps us ultimately get that little piece of intelligence to make sure we apprehend people as quickly as possible, and the right people. And so the video element for us is phenomenal. We had an instance where a lady was abducted. It was a domestic abduction, a relationship that went sour. And as the person was driving into New Orleans, she wasn't from New Orleans, but she knew that she was somewhere she didn't want to be. She was able to dial 911, but couldn't really speak with the call taker. The Carbine session was initiated. There was some chatting going on between the dispatcher and the call taker and the citizen. And then the citizen opened up their phone, their camera. And as they were traveling down the highway, they were smart enough to put the camera to the exit signs as they were traveling down the interstate. We also took a camera and got a video of the suspects inside the vehicle, so when the officers did engage, they knew exactly who they were looking for. So fortunately for us, that individual was brought to safety, but because of technology, that we had such really good intel. And this is just the beginning, right? When we start talking about connected cars, I mean, in the video that Modi showed, or the presentation, you saw an Uber screen. You all have Bolt here, right? When you can get a ride. In the US, we have a service called Uber. It's a very highly populated or high used service in our area because our tourists don't come with cars, right? But every now and then, there's an Uber issue inside the car. Either the driver needs help or the passenger needs help. We have a interface with Uber directly through the Carbine solution. We call it Connected Car. And so if you hit the emergency button in the Uber app, the call taker is presented with all the information about the Uber driver, a photo of the driver, a photo of the vehicle, the insurance information, the license plate information, where to go. This is just another tool that we have at our fingertips to really enhance the intelligence that is available quickly and immediately on the ground, so the officers or responders can make informed and decisive decisions. We only have about 2 minutes left,
Yeah.
so we're open for questions.
Perfect. Well, first and foremost, thank you, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed our presentation. So if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them. One at a time. Okay.
What?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
How you get the accurate location through an SMS you send?
Right.
It's a very easy feature. But how does your solution compare to the Google ELS solution?
That's actually a very good question. So a lot of the information we're getting, we are working very closely with Google. So we're good at getting the Google device-based location. So when you are clicking on that link, you're giving us the permission to get your mobile device-based location. And then our algorithm also allows us to realize and analyze Wi-Fi points in the room. And all the other information that is coming out from the GPS, from the mobile device-based location. And that is how we are kind of narrowing down to our kind of most accurate location points that got up to 4 meters. So we're calculating all of those different data points in order to zoom in on the location.
And the other side is that Google doesn't provide an interface for the call taker to use, right? They provide the data. Carbine provides us a platform to use the data to really execute a response.
Any more questions?
Sorry, I'm dressed like this. My luggage still hasn't gotten here yet. All right, thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Moti. Thank you, Tyrell. We can now move on to our next presentation, which is recorded. Are we ready to play the video?
Today, we'll discuss lessons learned from responding to community disasters with engineering talent and the cloud. Note, this is a recording. I'll be also reading the bullet points and describe the critical diagrams for those who are challenged with sight. So, my name is Louis Curtis, and I am the co-founder and leader of Services Disaster Response Program at Microsoft. Now, the slide has a picture of a burnt forest with a little tree growing, and it has my name, and it has a picture, and it has two pictures. It has a picture of what I usually look like, and with my glasses in a Teams meeting, and the picture I use for regular folks. And you can see the difference with both shirts. The text reads, I lead the Microsoft Services Disaster Response. We do two things: provide free IT recovery operations to help communities and organizations in their time of need after a disaster, natural or man-made. From these lessons and experience, we develop and promote and support services resiliency solutions for our customers. Now, essentially, we provide free technology and technology from across the company to empower our first responders agencies after a community has experienced a disaster. Now, from these experiences, we share the lessons learned so agencies can learn and be more prepared for emergencies in the future. So let's talk about the program. As a company, how do you give away your talent and capability to response agencies and communities across the world, often experiencing their highest levels of stress? Now, for us, we make it simple for response agencies as well as many field employees, and unify our delivery logistics and governance under one program. So the slide reads, it has a compass on it, a picture of a compass, and it has the description. It says, we are a unified tactical response model, leveraging our available software and talent from across the entire company to help response agencies reduce human suffering and increase stability in the impacted area. We are one, but a critical part of our overall response. MSDR is the largest and most immediate tool Microsoft has to respond to disasters. We are a partnership across all organizations, a truly one Microsoft approach. And it says the word MSDR overview. So in the next slide, since Superstorm Sandy, which hit the East Coast of the United States in 2012, the program is mobilized many times across the world. Today, we are consistently mobilized for multiple events around the world. Now, the slide has a picture of a map of all the countries in the world, and there's many darkened countries where we have it's identified where we've been in the past. So that represents over 40 countries, over 600 assessments, over 396 completed missions, over 1,000 volunteers. So it's and so in our first mobilization for our program, when we founded it, it was Superstorm Sandy. So to address disasters and stressed communities with often stressed employees wanting to respond, it's essential your team has a set of timeless core values you look to. These are our core values we often look to when the world gets challenging. So the slide reads core values, and we say we approach every disaster and every mission guided by our core values. First bullet is together we face the unknown. We have the distinct role shaped by unpredictable and ever-evolving threats and hazards to help communities around the world in their greatest time of need with Microsoft's best capabilities. The second bullet is together we are a united team. We unite across one Microsoft to make a difference in the lives of others by empowering response agencies to provide relief to their communities. And the third bullet is together we are the helpers. We strive to help organizations heal their communities and to reduce human suffering and stabilize their community as quickly and responsibly as possible. Now, if you're familiar with FEMA, you'll know two of these are very familiar about facing the unknown and being a united team. But what's different is instead of being the leaders, we claim that we're the helpers. Response agencies are the leaders, and we are the helpers to help those response agencies heal their communities. So the next slide is discussing our process. It says MSDR process and a picture of a storm. And so what we talk about is, but values alone are not enough. It takes a consistent execution capability from us all. So let's go to the next slide. There are many disasters occurring on a regular basis. Your organization needs to have situational awareness and have the ability to be alerted when needed. For us, we take notifications from multiple sources, internally and externally. The slide reads, MSDR alerted to a disaster. And in the window, it has some pictures of some disasters and a map with some alert signals on it, meaning that we get signals from a variety of sources. And then the text reads, we monitor events worldwide. Notifications come from both a variety of internal and external resources. Once notified to a disaster event, we begin our process with an assessment. So let's go to what that looks like. And it's what's important is the protocols you have in place for the notification. Is it an immediate disaster causing human suffering, or in community instability, or is it a forecasted imminent danger like a hurricane or typhoon off the coast, off the coastal waters? You start mobilizing teams and capability differently for each type of notification. So the notification doesn't automatically mean the same type of response. So you have to tailor your response capability based on the type of notification and capability that you're getting. So in the next slide, it's a slide that has a process line that starts with 6 basic points. It has a disaster event, an assessment, request to mobilize, mission request, mission execution, and mission transition. And so those are the process that we show. And then it has a image of Germany flooding as an example of floods at storms that happened. And then it has a picture of COVID, a picture of the COVID-19 to symbolize the COVID mobilization. So let's discuss our overall process structure. While there are protocols to pivot and adapt based on specific events, all of our mobilizations contain 6 core processes. 1, notification of the disaster event, which we have discussed. 2, we assess various elements, including specific disaster situation, country and specific communities impacted, declarations of emergency, and current laws and regulations, safety issues, as well as forecasted need for our talent and capability for the disaster. No, there are a lot of other elements in the assessment. 3, the request to mobilize. This is the process of a rapid decision-making activity we engage to bring in a lot of decision makers to get an understanding, prepare any unique operating governance rules, and potentially approve the mobilization to start. 4, once the mobilization is approved, local teams are trained and supported to lead the task force groups in multiple missions to assess and engage the mission activity. So instead of us in Redmond approving a mission and activities that happens. We train the teams on the ground locally in the culture and the language to make those decisions. We train them and we support them along the way. We have a rule. You'll understand the rule. If you're doing it alone, you're doing it wrong. We always have everybody supported and everybody has a backup, including myself. So once we have that, let's go into number 5. Once a mission has been, once we get into to this next stage, we go into this next stage is mission execution. Missions are supported and missions are managed along the way, and as we move into this mission execution and completion, getting the software components, the engineering capabilities, the DevOps activities that has to happen, all the components and the logistical elements to complete that mission, we move on to transition. Once the mission is completed, the agencies do not need the dialed up capabilities anymore. So they often need to transition the systems off so the response agencies can return to normal operations. And that's an important element. You don't want to leave them stuck with something they don't need. They've dialed up something to address the disaster, and then they dial it back. That's an important element. For one country, it might seem simple, but it's not. Each country and community inside the country has unique issues and challenges that need to be navigated through. For some, it might appear overwhelming at the complexity with declarations and unique rules and laws and customs for each community. But don't give up. Stick with it. Keep solving each problem, and over time, your team will get better at it. For COVID, we had to mobilize for the world, for several countries and communities, each having its own task force teams and needs. While we've mobilized for Ebola and multiple events involving multiple countries and communities over time, as every response agency knows, it got harder for all of us with COVID. The scale we had to rapidly grow and mature was extensive. From adjusting our intake processes, scaling several task force teams, different languages and cultures, and leveraging more powerful Power App capabilities and data first tools in our own tool cabinets to help enable us. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't easy for anyone. So let's talk about missions we typically see and lessons learned. In this slide, the slide says disaster response mission types, and I have examples like COVID, Germany floods, Beirut explosion, Gulf Coast hurricanes, bushfires, at the top. But at the bottom, I have the 4 mission types to discuss. One is called break fix. One is called collaboration and communications. One is called specialized response capabilities. And the 4th one is called data analysis and situational awareness. So let's break them down. Break fix, I describe here, it says through remote and on-site teams, Microsoft mobilizes capability to help agencies repair and restore critical technical systems damaged by the recent disaster event. Now, break fix is where a system and technology capability has been compromised as a result of the immediate disaster. So sending teams in to fix things, is something that we've done before many times, and you would think that would be the most popular and most often requested, but it's not. The other ones are requested a lot more often. But break fix is changing. The cloud changes what break fix means. We still have the ability to send teams in to fix what's broken, like cyber response activities for communities, and things like that. But also, the cloud gives us some other tools, things like what we call lift and shifts, lifting and shifting a capability or a system from an on-premise capability to the cloud, or that specific, not if the system is broken and damaged beyond repair, imitate that capability in the cloud and rebuild it. And so lifting and shifting, rebuilding, leveraging the cloud to rapidly restore a damage capability for the response agency is essential, and how you scope that and how you bring teams to execute on that is important. So the second one is called communications and collaboration. And so I write there in the slide, it says, these missions enable secure, targeted disaster response, collaboration, and communications between agencies and teams responding to the disaster. Now, it's very important and it's a critical mission type. Often, many response agencies cannot communicate or coordinate with essential teams or other agencies very easily. There's a lot of confusion. And we work with agencies to reduce this confusion and establish rapid, secure comms and collaboration capabilities for response agencies to coordinate between brigades and companies and teams, like in the bushfires, or different response agencies and groups on the ground. It's an often requested capability, because oftentimes response agencies are communicating and collaborating with insecure channels, and that gets them into trouble. The third mission type is called specialized response capabilities. And I wrote, using Microsoft's cloud capability and newest technology solutions, these missions build additional agency capabilities needed to respond to the disaster. Now, these often are unique needs that are experienced for the specific disaster. As you can guess, from virtual patient visits in Peru, building in-kind donation capabilities in Honduras, COVID testing to vaccine management for response agencies, each mission request has to be rapidly scoped, assessed, and a mission team recruited, and technology assets to engage. We often encounter something new and unusual, and that's where we respond, and that's okay. And that's what we can pivot around. That's important to do. The last one is what we call data analysis and situational awareness. These missions enable agencies to quickly analyze critical data and information to manage the response operation more effectively. Now, as all disasters are experiencing more and more data and information, response agencies need to navigate through this noise and rapidly get situational awareness and rapid insights on changing and rapid conditions on the ground. Now, teams have provided a comprehensive reporting and integration, leveraging Power BI. We can and Azure integration tools. We provided rapid insights and trends using Azure analytic capabilities, and we've had more and more artificial intelligence oriented missions in the last couple of years. So it's a critical element. There's a lot of data integration. Data integration is not the issue now. It's trying to get decipher through the noise and try to get insights from it, and try to help the response agency respond, and their intelligence officer get that insight and be able to assign teams properly. So I know this is short, but I hope you've attained some value and insight for yourself from this session. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me discussing our lessons learned from responding to past disasters with our talent and our technical capabilities. Please stay safe. Thank you.
Okay, so we can move on to the next presentation, which is shared between Caroline and myself, and it is about the WorkingAge project, which is a project that both EENA and Telespazio participate in the consortium. So what is WorkingAge? It is a research and innovation project funded under the EU Horizon 2020 work program, the research work program of the Commission. And the project aims to develop a tool, a virtual assistant, for promoting safer and healthier habits. So this tool, this virtual assistant, lives within a smartphone application and provides personalized assistance to the user by analyzing data from sensors and detection devices, which are part of the tool, part of the WorkingAge system, and available in the surroundings. The project aims to focuses on people who are 45 years old or older and might be at work or in their daily lives, for example, at home or even on the road. The project and the tool is piloted in 3 specific work environments with different characteristics, which are a manufacturing plant, an office environment, and a teleworking use case, which has become very popular lately. So let's see an example of how the virtual assistant works in the context of preventing risk. So the tool is using multiple sensor and measuring devices, and in this use case, these are used to help identify potentially harmful conditions. So in this example, the camera is a sensor which allows the tool to track the body posture of the user. So let's say you try to lift a box and the system will identify that your body posture is potentially harmful and it might actually lead you to hurt your back. So what the tool will do is it will display a notification to inform the user about how this risk can be avoided, how you could avoid hurting your back, and what is a better way to go about and do it. Of course, this is a very simplified example for the purposes of this presentation. There are more sophisticated use cases in the implementation of the tool. But in this next slide, I would like to focus on the topic of this presentation and what happens in case of an emergency. So while the WorkingAge tool has not been developed and does not have the objectives to track emergencies or to raise emergency alerts, the tool already uses a very rich data set in order to provide these recommendations. And in this data, there is health-related data, medical data, and of course, location data. So the question that we asked was, is this data useful to emergency responders? And an answer to this question is provided by the EENA report on the impact of COVID-19 on the PSAP activities, where in a survey done in the context of this report, 59% of the respondents replied that it would have been useful to automatically receive basic medical data during an emergency call. So the next question was, okay, how can we share this data with emergency services? And within the project, this is something done by what is called the WorkingAge 112 service. And I would like now give the floor to Caroline, who will present the implementation of the service.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you all for being the last survivors of the session. I will try to be short. I would like to tell you again that I'm the technical leader of the WorkingAge project on the Telespazio side. As Alexis just said, there is a huge amount of sensors, processing unit, infrastructure units in the WorkingAge tool. But today we will focus only on the E112 service. So, what is this service? What does it do? 2 main things in parallel. The first thing is that it automatically launches a call to the 112 number. The second thing is that it provides some accurate location and information on the user to the correct emergency answering point. How can this service be triggered? 2 different ways. The first one is that it could be automatically triggered by the tool himself when it detects any incident on the health of the user. And there is another way. The service can be triggered by the user himself manually through a button on the WorkingAge application. So I just told you that there are some key information gathered by the tool, So the next question is, how are these data collected by the tool? So there are three categories of data. First category is medical data, and more specifically, the heartbeat rate of the user. This heartbeat rate is collected thanks to a wristband, which is actually an electrocardiogram. There is a second type of data, which is the location of the user, and I will explain more in detail in the next slide how this location is computed. And the last category of data is a set of personal data on the user, like his full name, the phone number, and its spoken language. And at a given time, the WorkingAge tool collects all this information on the user and in almost real time. So let's make a focus on how the location information is computed. First of all, any company willing to provide its employees with the WorkingAge tool should install some Wi-Fi routers in its premises. These routers are dispatched on the buildings and they are at fixed location and positioned. These routers are positioned with two kinds of data, the classical latitude-longitude couple, but also a set of information making what we can call a dispatchable location, which corresponds to the exact address of the worker building, the floor number, and when relevant, the office or the open space number as well. So there are two different cases. First case is when the user is inside the router's range. In that case, the user has his application on his smartphone. The application is connected to the router and retrieves the position of the router. And in that case, the position of the user is assimilated to the one of the router. In the second case, the user is out of range of the router, and this is a fused Android position that is used instead. So we just had a look on which data are collected by the tool and how they are collected. So the next question is, how are these data conveyed to the emergency services? The answer is through a PSAP-compliant architecture. So there were yesterday some interesting presentation about PSAP. I will not go into much detail, but you have on the right hand side of the slide the typical PSAP architecture and what we did for the prototype in the WorkingAge tool. A short reminder, PSAP is a standard which allows some mobile application to provide location and personal information to the correct answering point. For the prototype, we didn't have the opportunity to connect with the real PSAP network, so we had to develop some prototypes to do it. So we developed, of course, the equivalent of the application provider. When a company, an application, wants to integrate into the PSAP network, it needs to develop a server which makes the link between the application and the PSAP world. The PSAP world, what I call PSAP world, is actually a set of nodal servers responsible for deploying the data up to the PSAP. So let's have a look on how the 112 service works. So here we are in the case where there is no emergency, which means that the heartbeat rate value of the user is normal, and the user did not use the button to trigger the service. So on the left-hand side, we can see the user environment, which is made of the sensors and the application. Before that, the user has registered its personal information into the app, like name, surname, spoken language. Here we have a picture of the network, so the emergency server, which is the link between the application and the PSAP network. Something representing one of the PSAP network component, which is called the PSP server, and something simulating the PSAP environment. We showed it here with a phone terminal representing the phone that would receive a 112 call, and a view in which the PSAP personnel would be able to have a look of the data received from the application. So, what happens in case of an emergency? In that case, I'm presenting you the automatic triggering by the tool, because you can see here that there is a problem with the heartbeat rate of the user. So the tool detects a problem and triggers the service. The first thing is that when something is detected by the tool, the user is asked to confirm the alert. In the case the user confirms the alert on the application, or in the case the user does nothing, we consider that it is important to launch the service. So the 112 service is launched. When it is launched, there are two things in parallel. The first thing is that an automatic call to E112 is launched, and the application collects the most up-to-date data on the user, most up-to-date heart rate value, position, and the information on the user. It formats all the data into a message and sends it to the emergency server. Sorry. The emergency server is responsible for being PMEA compliant. So it generates the PMEA compliant message with all this data sent by the application and send it into the PMEA network up to the PSAP. At PSAP level, the message is received, decoded, and the information are displayed on an interface. So, in order to validate our prototype, as I said earlier, we developed a view which could be used by a PSAP to display the information received from the tool. We had this result during a testing session. Of course, it was not a real emergency. We simulated the emergency. These are dummy data about a fake user. These are also dummy medical data. But we succeeded to validate that our architecture was working properly because on the PSAP emulated environment, the dummy data on the user were correctly conveyed, and the position was the position of the router used for the testing session. So I am done talking about the project. I wanted to say a few words on my company. So I work for Telespazio France, which is a joint venture between Thales and Leonardo. We work in various domains, such as launch pads, navigation, telecommunication, and observation. But my team, which is made of Axel, Laurent, and myself, they are here, we invent new European services for SAR and public warning. So if you're interested in any of this topic, feel free to come to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caroline. I think we have time for some questions. Are there any questions? I don't see any hands.
They are hungry, I guess.
Okay, in that case, I think we can close the session and start lunch earlier. I would like to thank our speakers and, of course, the audience for your time and attention.